Welcome back to another episode of Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation, right here on Verde Valley TV and KVNA 104.7 FM. I'm your host, Philip Catafamo. We have got a great show in store for you this week. Later in the program, we'll be joined by Verde Valley Heat Elite head coach Richard Ayersman, who will break down the benefits club softball has for preparing players for the next level. We'll then be joined by Mingus Union High School girls basketball coach Paul Ventura, who will talk about his plan to help his team adjust to the new shot clock rule, which will be in place next season. But on the other side of this break, we'll be joined by Chino Valley Cougars registration coordinator Adrianna Granillo, who will discuss the benefits that she's seen in her kids from participating in youth sports. All of that and a whole lot more coming up right here on Off the Bench. Stay with us. We will be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in Northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm joined now by Chino Valley Cougars registration coordinator Adrianna Granillo. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Chino Valley Cougars, they are a youth football league that is a part of the Northern Arizona Football League. They are one of the teams that participate in there, and Adrianna is very nice to come onto the show. It is Adrianna. It is. I have it wrong on my notes, but it's Adrianna Granillo. Excuse me. Adrianna, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're happy to have you. Like I mentioned, Adrianna is the registration coordinator for the Chino Valley Cougars. So, Adrianna, just who are the Cougars in general, and what are they all about?
So we are a nonprofit organization located in Chino Valley, Arizona. We are teaching our local youth the fundamentals of football and cheer. Our mission is to provide each athlete with every chance possible to build lasting friendships, explore their athletic capabilities, enhance critical thinking skills, and gain leadership skills from our empowering coaches. Together, we go that extra mile to make sure the local youth of our town continues to thrive and mature as a league. We may be a really small league in size compared to others, but we strive to be mighty on and off the field.
Who are some of the other teams that the Chino Valley Cougars play against? Now, obviously, the Cougars themselves, they are their own team, and they have different age levels, which we will talk about in a little bit. But who are, if you were to give me just sort of generally, who are some of the teams or what are some of the areas that maybe the Cougars go to travel to play games at?
Okay, so we actually are in a league, which is Northern Arizona Youth Football. We are under them. We play against 18 other town and cities in our area. We can go as far as Wickenburg and as far as Page. So Cottonwood is in our league. Prescott, Williams, Flagstaff, and that's a couple of them right now.
Yeah, but like Adrianna just said, there's a pretty big landscape in terms of the teams that the Cougars play against and the other teams in the Northern Arizona Football League, like she mentioned, naming Cottonwood, Flagstaff. There's some teams in Winslow, Baghdad as well. Prescott, like you said, we got a chance to cover Northern Arizona Youth Football Day in 2019. It was myself and Nick Yatsinko. It was great. We got a chance to go over to Prescott High School and watch these kids play. A lot of fun to watch these little kids play. I didn't get a chance to play youth football when I was a kid. I played baseball and basketball, but my partner, Nick Yatsinko, he had played football, and it was a great opportunity for him to sort of, remember those past days of playing alongside his friends, while participating in a very similar league. Again, the Cougars are a team inside of the Northern Arizona Youth Football League. Adrianna, let's talk about the age groups. How old are they when they come in, and how old are they when they leave?
So when they come in, and this is for cheer and football. So when they come in, we have 3 different divisions in the league. So we have Mighty Might, which the ages consist of 5 to 8 years old. Then we have our minors, which are 9 to 11, and our majors, which are 12 to 14.
Okay. So it seems like they're coming in as little kids and then leaving as older kids. And, it just kind of, you talked a little bit about the development. Obviously, there's going to be a different way to handle the sport of football from the younger kids to the older kids. Can you talk a little bit about some of those differences as to how the game of football breaks down for the younger kids compared to the older kids? What are some things that they focus on?
So, since I am registration, I did get this from one of our coaches. So it says, he gave me this too. The younger division, which is our Mighty Might, which are mostly first timers. They're here to learn the basics of football along with safety. As they get older and move up in each division, they gain more knowledge and they gain more emphasis on their technique, and their ability to pay attention and retain plays gets easier. At the younger ages, you can only teach and coach for so long before they start to lose focus. For them, it's about teaching basic techniques and rules of football, simple plays of the game that they'll remember and still have fun. We want to make this a good experience so they build that love for the game as they get older.
So it seems like at the younger levels, you're learning just sort of the basic techniques about the sport from what you said, talking to some of the coaches. And as they get older, like you just mentioned, you sort of add a little bit more complexity to the offense. You're running more plays. You're running different schemes. So it seems like you do get a pretty good coverage in terms of knowledge when you join the league. Adrianna and I were talking a little bit beforehand, and she mentioned to me that she had two kids who have gone through the football. One has gone through, one is going through, and then also you have a daughter who went through the cheer program. So speaking now from your experience, I mean, what did your kids gain from joining this league? And what did they learn? And I mean, realistically, how has joining this league improved their lives in terms of making friends and all that stuff?
So for me, when we first came in as first-time parents, I noticed this huge boost of self-confidence in their early years of playing. And as they got older, winning was fun for them, but losing wasn't so much. But as they got older, they learned that they needed to work harder and, build on that.
And then, let's talk about the friends they make. I mean, I have some friends that I played youth baseball with and basketball that I'm still friends with. It's a small handful because once you get into that like middle school age, kids usually kind of go to different schools and it's kind of hard to keep contact with them. But for the most part, a lot of these kids, and I'm sure you can speak to it as well, a lot of these kids do end up going to middle school and high school together, and starting and playing football or just youth sports in general together is a great way for them to build friends.
Yes, they do. So when they start out as the little Mighty Mites, they go all the way through the majors. They see their kids, they see their friends in school. They're with them after school. Then they move on to high school. Some of these kids, since we are a smaller town, they do get to They get to be with each other a little more. Let me see. What else did you say? Because I lost. I lost my train of thought.
You're pretty much on there. Just some kids do get the opportunity to end up playing high school football together or go to high school together. But just more speaking about the relationships and the friendships that your kids have made since joining the league and just what they've gotten out of that.
Well, my son and my daughter both went through it from Mighty Might all the way to majors. My son actually didn't play his first couple of years in high school, and he ended up playing his last year in high school, and he ended up getting a football scholarship to play at Cornell. So I think during those first couple of years, he was able to evolve and he learned how to love the game and had a passion for it. And the same as my daughter, she made those same friends. She cheered all the way through 8th grade and then came back and helped coach the little girls. And so I think it was like a whole, circle experience for them to come back and be able to be a part of that.
And then what about for you as a parent? I mean, we talk about the benefits with the kids, but obviously even as a parent, I know my mom has some friends that she's met, going to my travel baseball games or that my dad have met going to my sister's softball tournaments, whatever it may be. There's obviously a benefit here for parents too, because you're building a relationship, especially when your kids become friends, then you kind of also have to be friends with the parents for a little bit. So speaking on your experience as a parent, what have you gained since, I know you left for a little bit, but came back to help run help run the Cougars. So from your experience, I mean, what have you gotten out of being a part of the league?
When my husband and I first came into the league, we were first time. We knew nothing about this. You come onto the field, then you meet people that you just click with.
Right.
And you continue to, flourish with them in this relationship. You're cheering on your kids, you're cheering on their kids, you're traveling to games together. And then next thing you know, it's years later and you're still friends. You see them out and about, and our kids have gone through the system with them too. So it's pretty neat to watch them grow up too.
Again, we are speaking with Chino Valley Cougars registration coordinator, Adrianna Granillo. Again, the Cougars are a football team that is a part of the Northern Arizona Youth Football League. The Cougars have 3 different divisions within their team. Coaches, actually I almost forgot about coaches. These coaches usually, they usually, we talked a little bit beforehand, but I've noticed that the coaches for the Chino Valley Cougars usually kind of follow the kids as they get older. So I'm curious, with that being said, is there a need for coaches right now? And if so, where should people go for that information?
Absolutely. We need coaches. We need volunteers. You may not think that you can coach a kid, but we give you all the tools that you need. And it's just really about being there for them. They are required to attend mandatory coaches clinics and take courses online. And it's really a lot of help from all the other coaches. If you are interested, you can always contact us on our Facebook page, Chino Valley Youth Football and Cheer, or by email. And that's cvyfacougars@gmail.com.
Perfect. You can also visit the Chino Valley Cougars website as well. Go check that out. And also their Facebook page has a lot of updated information as well for those of you who may need some more info. Events, sign-up events coming up anytime soon, Adrianna? And if so, where?
We're in the works. We're in the works for some signups. Hopefully, we'll have 2 of them in July, and they're usually at Safeway, which is here in Chino Valley. We ask that you bring a copy of the kids' birth certificates, and the fee is $175.
And then when does games actually kick off, and when do these kids actually get a chance to play?
The first day of practice begins July 26th. That runs for 2 weeks for our cheerleaders and 3 weeks for our football players. Then our first game is August 28th.
Perfect. All right. Well, like we mentioned, if there's any more information that you want to go to or go check out, go visit the Chino Valley Cougars website. Again, they play in the Northern Arizona Football League. Adrianna, before we let you go, is there anything else that people should know either about the league that you've experienced or just sign up information in general?
Yes, our cheerleaders.
Did she? Oh, yeah, definitely.
You can't forget about our cheerleaders.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah, let's talk just kind of briefly here. We got a couple minutes about the cheerleading program. Go right ahead.
So our cheerleading program runs the same way that our football players. They're just as strong. We are looking for cheer coaches also. We can use that. We have the same divisions, Mighty Might minors and majors. Our minors and our majors are all-time winning champions at competition. So we're looking to come back and bring back that #1 trophy.
Again, Adrianna, let's just throw out some info. Where should people go to look into that a little bit more?
So if they need to find us, they look for us on our Facebook page, Chino Valley Youth Football and Cheer. They can also email us at cvyfacougars@gmail.com and on our webpage, which is the Chino Valley Cougars.
I'd like to thank Chino Valley Cougars registration coordinator Adrianna Granillo for coming on the show. Adrianna, thank you very much. And for those of you who are listening on the radio, you're missing out on Adrianna's great Cougars hat. It's a very sparkly hat that's got some print, it looks like, and or I should say leopard print, actually, and a big Cougars across the top. So if you are listening on radio, go check that out on our YouTube page, Verde Valley, youtube.com/Verde Valley TV. We are going to take a quick break. Again, Adrianna, thank you very much for coming on the show. If you need any more info, go visit the Facebook page for the Chino Valley Cougars football and youth team, and also go visit their website for more specific information about when signups are and how much it costs and whatnot. So again, I'd like to thank Chino Valley Cougars registration coordinator Adrianna Granillo for coming on the show. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Verde Valley Heat Elite head coach Richard Ayersman to talk a little bit of club softball here on Off the Bench. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench. I am joined now by Verde Valley Heat Elite head coach Richard Ayersman. Coach Ayersman, welcome on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, for those of you who do listen to our softball broadcast, may be familiar with the last name Ayersman, as this is Alexis Ayersman, Mingus Marauder softball pitcher, Alexis Ayersman's father. Richard, Coach Ayersman coaches the travel club team, the Verde Valley Heat Elite. We'll talk a little bit about club softball just in general, but they are a club softball team here in the Verde Valley, and Coach Ayersman is the head coach. So, Coach, I just want to start right from the beginning. How did you get involved with this team?
Well, I kind of got involved with this team with coaching overall, is getting involved in youth sports. I actually started back with my daughter when she was 5 with soccer, AYSO. So I was one of those parents, volunteer coaches, and that truly was Alexis' first true love of soccer, and it was for quite a while. And I coached along with that, did that with my son, and then my wife. Then Alexis got interested more in softball, little league, stuff like that. So I was a parent, just enjoying that whole situation there, and she just really fell in love with it. So after like little league started and all that kind of stuff, there's a group of girls, core group of girls that really wanted to keep it going and play some club sports and stuff like that too, club ball, and that's kind of where we kind of started from there. But it was it was one of those things where it was another guy that started it as a head coach about 10U, started it all up. Kind of fizzled out a little bit, and the girls still wanted to play. They wanted some changes. So basically I told them I'm for the ride. You grew with me, we'll go do it. And the rest basically is history since they're like 19 years old. And it's just, been, tons of success from these girls ever since. So 90% of these girls have been playing together since they've been like 5 years old.
Yeah, which is great. Of course, they make their way up then to the high school team. Of course, a lot of softball players that you will see during high school softball season more than likely play on a club team in some sort of facet. Obviously, Mingus Union kind of relies more on the Verde Valley Heat. I know there are a couple travel teams in Prescott and Flagstaff. Obviously, there are a bunch in the Phoenix area. But, Coach, just in general, is there anybody that you sort of model your style off of? Is there a program, maybe softball or outside of softball, that you look to and go, yeah, I love what this coach does, and I want to kind of model myself after them?
Well, I don't know if it's really like a coach, but it's kind of one of those things where I'm one of those coaches that teach during practice, and I let the players go play. I'm not one of those coaches, and when you guys ever kind of one of the tournaments where I'm coaching, or my other coaches, Shauna or Kat, my other coaches that have been with me a very long time, we're not out there yelling at the kids every single play, anything like that. I mean, it's our job to get them ready during practice, and basically you won't hear much out of us in the games. The girls go out there and play, they know what to do, and they can adjust, and it's just, get your popcorn ready and go watch them have some fun.
Yeah, club softball is definitely a lot of fun to watch. Obviously, you're seeing a lot of the top talent around the state or the city or the county that you happen to be in. The Verde Valley Heat obviously showing a lot of the talent here in the Verde Valley and in the surrounding areas. But Coach, I do want to kind of ask, I know that this question kind of has an answer, which is first and foremost being that club softball and high school softball are played the exact same way. There are no rule differences. It's all played the same way, but there are some differences between the two. If we can jump into some of them, Coach, what are some of those differences that aren't on the field that happen with club softball compared to high school softball?
Well, I mean, like you said, the games are the same, but it's a mental toughness and physically being ready on a tournament on a weekend, where these girls would play 6, 7, 8 games sometimes, and they're hour 15, hour 30 games. Where high school, I mean, it's 2 games a week, and you're preparing for them moving forward. So it's another thing I say is some high schools, maybe you have a couple club players on it and they do okay. But when you're in club ball, I mean, we go out and play in those tournaments where they're all rock star kids, and we want to play the best to be the best. So It's very competitive. Sometimes parents can get a little rowdy, and even some of the other coaches, and maybe not be the best role models, but for the most part, it's great competition for the girls and get them prepared for high school. So right. When they're in those big moments, it doesn't faze them. And that's what I love about all 12 girls that I have is it doesn't faze them. They're ready to go play, and they just go do it. And I would say just mental toughness, I would say, probably between both of them is a big part of it.
You talk a little bit there, Coach, about taking that next step, going from, let's say, junior high school, then you start playing on a club team, and it sort of helps with that transition going into the next level. So, I mean, what other benefits are there to playing club softball? And just more so, how much does this prepare kids for that next step when they go from either elementary school or, let's say, rec league softball to club, or go from club to high school, or even high school to college?
Well, I'd say, like, if you're going from rec to club, I mean, we had our lumps going in too. Where we played in quite a few tournaments where we never won a game, and we got blown out, and the girls never gave up. And they're just like, well, we learned a lot more from our losses than we do our wins. And they had that drive. So I prepare anybody who wants to get into club ball, starting from doing little league rec ball, going right into club ball. You're going to take your lumps, and it's you having that right group of girls there that understand that. And as long as the coaches understand that they're starting into it, that's going to help build them there. And then from that, once you get into those first humps, those years in soft and, club ball, it just prepares them for high school. And then they get more competitive, and then you come in as a freshman. Sometimes you might start as a freshman going into high school, and it helps you that mental toughness. And it's just about repetitions, more games you're playing, the competition you're seeing. You just need more play time for sure.
Yeah, very much so. I totally agree. Especially just like you said, even just the fact that they're playing more games throughout the summer, they're staying in softball shape. I believe does club sports play? They play into the fall too, right? Do you guys hold softball tournaments in the fall as well?
Yeah, that's what's impressive with these girls here. I mean, with Arizona, we play year round. Okay. Even before even high school and all that kind of started, we played year round. We maybe took a couple weeks, maybe a month off around the holidays a little bit. But these girls have been going at it since they've been 8, 9 years old, playing pretty much year round, sacrificing a lot. And it is a lot. It's a sacrifice with the kids, the parents, the other little small siblings that have to be dragged along to the fields too.
I was one of them.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it is a tough thing, and it is a commitment, but it really is a joyful one. And it's not all about the wins and losses. It's about the fun memories you have. I mean, one of my top memories we had was we were playing in Lubbock, Texas in a big tournament. I believe we were like 10U or 12U, and we did really well. But the biggest thing was they were having tornado warnings and weather warnings and stuff like that going around our area. So they had to get everybody off the field. And all these girls were in the parking lot. There's probably about 14, 15 teams from all over, and they were having a dance off, and they were just dancing, having a blast. I mean, the tornadoes and stuff were a little bit further away. But anyways, but they were just having a great time. And that's one of the memories that I really enjoy is just that, having the softball sisters and having those type of memories, I think is great.
I totally agree. I mean, there's obviously a good chance that when you start playing with a club team when you're younger, there's a really good possibility that you end up playing on the high school team with those same group of kids or group of girls, depending on what club sport you're playing. And I agree. The camaraderie, the friendship, obviously, even if you have players, my sister played club softball, and she played alongside girls who did not go to the same high school that she ended up going to, but they still were friends. Whenever my alma mater would play against a fellow high school team that had one of my sister's old teammates on there, there would always be a small reunion because, like you said, building those relationships, they last forever.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I treat all these girls like they're my other daughters too. I have one daughter on the team, but I'm like Papa Bear, so I love them all.
You have one actual daughter and then 11 adopted daughters.
Exactly.
Again, we were speaking with Verde Valley Heat Elite head coach Richard Ayersman. Coach Ayersman coaches. This is a club softball team here in the Verde Valley. And if you want to go check more information out about them, go visit their Facebook page, facebook.com/Verde Valley Heat Elite, if you want some more information about the team itself. Coach, some of the misconceptions about club sports, do you have any, and can you clear any up?
Well, there can be. There are those organizations out there. I try to have a balance myself, but there are those organizations out there that it's 5 days a week. Go. And if you miss a practice, you lost your spot on the team. And it's high pressure for these girls all the time. And if you make a mistake, they pull them. And that doesn't teach them anything. I mean, anything, it's more of a fear factor for them. And eventually they do drop out, or they maybe have that high pressure on a club team like that. And, when they have that offer and they're ready to go to college, they're like, you know what, I don't know if I want to do this for the next 4 years. And they just quit. And they're done because maybe those coaches or those organizations, it left a bad taste in their mouth. And that's what I try not to do, because this is not a sprint to me. This is a marathon. And I try to balance so these girls have fun, and I don't try to overwork them. I might do 1 or 2 tournaments a month. Practices, I go a couple days a week, or, maybe a little bit more if we need it. But I want them to still enjoy their lives, but I want them to still enjoy this game. And like I told all my girls, if you're never happy or don't want to do this anymore, just let me know. No hard feelings. But I just want their commitment, and I want them to keep having fun. And they are. And each one of my girls had their ups and downs. And I know they thought about, not doing it or whatever else, but they fought through. And it's having that right team, honestly, and that right coaching staff to really support the kids. And it's not about how many trophies and plaques you get and all that kind of stuff, because I have a ton of them here in my office. And it's not about that. These girls go out to perform. We beat some of the best teams out there that we probably shouldn't have beat. But we are a top team in this organization, and I'm very proud of them. But there's goods and bads. You just got to, if you're a parent looking at the right club, you just got to do your research with the coaches. And it's not always about wins and losses. So.
Yeah, I had only played on one club team when I was playing youth baseball, and it was right after my 5th grade year. I was going into 6th grade, and it unfortunately was that negative side of club sports, where it was all about the winning. It was all about, who was basically donating the most money to the program, who was, they had this core group of kids that they already that was the starting 9. And I just felt so out of place. And it did mess up sort of my love for baseball a little bit. I ended up picking it back up when I went back to rec league and started playing high school a little bit later on. That's when I sort of regained that love for baseball. But I agree, when you got to do your research a little bit with some club teams, because what looks good on the surface may not be fully what it's supposed to be, or what it's trying to look like.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. We do hold these girls to a high standard, and they have to compete for their spots. You just you just got to find the right organization and stuff like that. And these girls know it. I mean, it's like, if you get beat out for your spot, you get beat out, you fight harder to get back in that lineup or anything like that. So yeah, you just got to do your research, and you got to avoid the teams where all the parents, like I say, for any clubs organizations, avoid the teams where you see all the parents coaching the kids and the coaches don't have a handle on what's going on, and avoid that team too.
A good life lesson for you parents out there who are looking for a club team. Don't look out for other parents. If no one shows up to the game, it's a great club team. But if there's everyone there, it's not great. No, I'm kidding, of course. Again, here speaking with Verde Valley Heat head coach Richard Ayersman. Again, Verde Valley Heat Elite are a club softball team in the Verde Valley. Coach, obviously, there is a lot of correlation between the Verde Valley Heat and the Mingus Union Marauders. We talked a little bit about it in the beginning. Your daughter, Alexis, the ace of Coach John Brown's staff, along with Marissa Vaca, of course. I know that you have a lot. I think it's at least maybe not 50%, but up into the upper 50% of players who are on Coach Brown's team more than likely play for the Verde Valley Heat. So I want to ask you, Coach, what is your collaboration with Coach Brown throughout the year? Obviously, you're seeing these girls in the off season, and even, before the season starts, a little bit more than he is. So do you guys talk at all? Is it kind of like, hey, I'd like to see, maybe we've got Sydney Stapleton at catcher, but we'd like to see her play left field. Or maybe we've got, Alexis is great at short and pitcher, but maybe we want to try her out at first base, just kind of give her arm a break a little bit. So where are you in terms of your collaboration with Coach John Brown of the Mingus Union Marauders during the off season of high school softball season?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, on that, even starting from the beginning, JB, he started this club, the Heat Elite. He had girls that did it in club softball, and we came on and joined on this organization very young. But for the most part, he was hands off. I did my thing. He did his thing. Going into high school, same thing with freshman year with Alexis. brought him on. He was still doing his thing, but it's been really nice this past couple of years. We were able to collaborate a little bit more and talk a little bit more because it's seeing how these girls are. He's even adjusted on his coaching style. I've seen even with the girls coming in. He's right. We might not have a bunch of home run hitters on this team, but I have hitters. I got girls that almost all of them hit over 300. I got multiple hit over 400. It's just a different way of coaching style, all that. And he's done a great job on that. And our communication's been great. JB's been great with the girls. The girls love him. And it's more than 50%. I think it was more like almost 100%, probably 95 at one point or another. At least the girls that played for me or still playing for me. There's only one girl that's not on the Mingus team, and she's over in Prescott. And she's just Emma. Her name's Emma. She's a rock star shortstop, and she's been with us, and her family's been with us, and she's been tan. And she travels over here and stuff like that. So, but for the most part, it is my team that's out there, and you probably see me out there in the games pacing and walking around the fields. I'm not a very good parent watching games. I get too nervous. I've definitely had more gray hairs this last season, but it's a great relief. I have them for 9 months out of the year. JB has them for 3 months out of the year. They had a little break and enjoy. The girls enjoy having another coach and somebody that they can learn something from too.
A break and almost a kind of a way of the break, of course, Coach. I mean, you're watching the team that, it's basically your travel team playing at the high school level. And you're seeing these girls, like you said, again, a couple of those gray hairs. I have seen you pace back and forth. Usually, if I remember correctly, Coach, you're usually behind in the outfield, behind the fence, usually watching the game. And
I got to get away from everybody.
I've heard so. Of course, nothing bad. Of course, we'll make that very clear. Just some fun stories of Coach Ayersman pacing back and forth, and you've come over to the booth a couple times to talk with me, and it's a lot of fun. Again, we're speaking with Verde Valley Heat Elite head coach Richard Ayersman. Coach, I want to talk now just a little bit about club sports in general. There has been this shift, and I don't know if it's happened in the last 10 years. I've noticed it in the last 10 years because my sister played high school softball and also club sports. Maybe we can go back even a little bit further. I'm not entirely sure where this shift started, but there is a perception, and I have it as well, that there is more opportunity for exposure at the next level when you play club sports than you do high school. And there's almost an idea that, and again, I don't know if it's 100% correct, but there is almost an assumption that when you play club sports, it's better for your future career to get more exposure than it would be if you were just playing high school sports. Can you talk at all about why that might be and why we're seeing more players kind of focused in on their club sports as opposed to the high school sports for softball?
Yeah, I mean, there is that perception, but I think, it's kind of tough too. I mean, even like at the 4A conference that we're in, or even in Arizona, there are some amazing high school teams that a lot of kids will transfer to that are club kids because they want that note, or they want to get that state ring, or they want to get that region title, or they're needing to get those accolades to help them put on their resume for these coaches too. Because these coaches they do follow high school too. It's not always club ball, because there are a lot of great kids out there that might not be on those big money ball teams that might need to get noticed in high school. Yeah. Or this whole thing with COVID right now, me personally, as my daughter, she missed out on a year of really getting recruited and going to some of these showcases. All our girls did that the ones that want to go to the next level, because this last year, no coach was really going out. There was like some of the smaller schools, stuff like that, but there was nothing going on. So you had to pivot and change. And I think that has changed now because of COVID. I don't think it really all depends, honestly, in my opinion, that it depends on what club you're on. But it's going to take what I've done with Alexis, where we pivoted, is started a YouTube channel for her, doing highlights on that. And it's more gone to a social media. And it's just getting that coach to recognize you. You have to be more aggressive and not just to show up at a showcase or, hope that one coach walks by and notices you that one play. Right. It's not going to happen. And I think you just really got to promote yourself in a different way. And that's what a lot of kids have been doing. That's where we've had to pivot, having those skills videos, stuff like that, having those highlights. You got to have those parents or those coaches recording those games and putting those clips together. It's a full team effort. But I mean, it did shift, and it was a lot of club sports, and there was a lot of kids that the club team said, don't go play for the high school. They're not any good. Don't even bother. You can just, keep playing with us. But again, there's only so many tournaments during high school ball because a lot of times they go dark and there's not enough teams to even go play. But I think it's shifted back, to where the kids can go have some fun in high school. And it's not as bad as it was probably several years ago where it really was. But it's still a major recruiting part. It does come down a lot on the club teams because they are playing a lot more than high school. So,
okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even take into the consideration the social media aspect of it. Of course, I mean, that is obviously a great way to get exposure. Like you said, you and Alexis have started a YouTube channel that showcases Alexis's talent for when she needs to send off tape to a recruiter or to a college coach or even another club team potentially at a higher level. So interesting. The social media aspect is something I had not thought about just yet, but I love that. One last question for you, Coach, before we let you go. Great junior year for Alexis Ayersman and a lot of the Mingus Union Marauders. Knowing that most of Coach Brown's team is currently on your team, let's just talk in general. I mean, what do you want to accomplish this club season as we head into a few of the players' final years at Mingus Union High School, and obviously for some not, but going into the softball season?
Just really when we stay in the competitive tournaments going in the summer, into the fall, of course, maybe some more showcases, some of the bigger events going on in Phoenix. I'm not sure if we're going to be still traveling out of state as much because California is still not quite there yet. So, but just staying competitive within the state, keeping the girls busy, that sort of thing. Get them ready for high school again. We fell a little short at Mingus. But it's look out next year because, I mean, this has been the girls' dream for since about 12 years old. But it'd be cool to win a state tournament or a state championship for Mingus and stuff like that for a good chunk of these girls. And I truly believe that could possibly happen. And, we're just kicking off our summer season and we did really well last weekend and did a phenomenal job again. And I couldn't, is going to keep it rolling. So.
A successful club season will hopefully turn into a very successful softball season for the Mingus Marauders when we, of course, get to the spring season. But for now, they are in good hands right now with the Verde Valley Heat Elite head coach, Richard Ayersman. Coach Ayersman, thank you very much for coming on the program to talk about this club team.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with more here on Off the Bench. Stay with us. Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I am joined now by Mingus Union High School girls basketball coach Paul Ventura. Coach Ventura, it is great to have you back on the show.
Thanks, Philip. I'm really excited to be back.
Well, obviously the offseason is in full swing for everybody here in Northern Arizona and throughout the state and probably the entire planet right now if high school sports aren't going on right now, which they aren't. But, Coach, last season you graduate 4 seniors, including Chase Dirksen, who is moving on to play basketball at Central Arizona College in Coolidge, and also Emma Hogard, who received a scholarship to go to go do school at Brigham Young University or BYU. Congratulations to both of them, along with Kobe Medor and Yasmin Mestis, who are both on to bigger and better things after they graduated from Mingus Union High School. But Coach, we're going into the next season. A lot of expectations for the Mingus Marauders, a lot of question marks surrounding a few players who are gone. Obviously, Chase was a big piece of the offense this year, but you do return Maddie Mathis, who we'll talk about. You do return Taylor Brock. What are you doing now to prepare for the upcoming season?
Well, right now we're working on some individual skill work type things throughout the summer. We're also, going to do some tournaments. We have a scrimmage scheduled for next week against another high school. And so, we're trying to keep the kids busy. We've only been doing 3 nights a week. in the past, I had done more, and the attendance kind of went up and down, up and down. So this year we did 3 nights a week. It's right in the middle of the week, so there's no weekend conflicts. And it's at night. And so that means kids can work, which has been an issue in the past couple of years of kids wanting to have jobs. So, but yeah, I mean, we're working on some chemistry among the core group of kids, and then individual skill work, because they all need to get better individually as well.
Well, like I mentioned with Taylor Brock coming back, obviously she's kind of the big centerpiece of this team, kind of going to be filling more of that offensive role left by Chase Dirksen, who was instrumental for her 4 years at Mingus Union High School. You talk about that individual work. Can we be a little more specific on some of the things you might be working with Taylor and or Maddie and some of the other returners for next season?
Yeah, Taylor, she's going to be a focal point. And I think, right now she has some skill, and coming into high school, she had very raw skill. And so over the last couple of years, we've really tried to hammer home some fundamentals, and she takes to it like a sponge to water. It's insane. Extremely hard worker, high coachability. And so we've been working on some post type moves with her that will broaden her game a little bit to kind of go along with her explosiveness and her, physicality.
Right.
But she's actually developed a nice jump shot from 15, 16 feet. She actually could shoot a 3, but, we're probably not going to ask her to do that. But, from the foul line extended, maybe a couple feet beyond the foul line, she could shoot it. And she's confident in shooting it. So she's also working on passing, which might seem kind of counterintuitive to some people, but she needs to learn. She's going to get double teamed quite a bit. And so she needs to learn how to become a good passer. And she really is working hard at it. She's unselfish. So she's one of those kids that you just love to have. She's gotten stronger, which was a really good thing. And her jumping ability keeps getting better and better and better. So she's done a lot of work on that. And then I would say we've had a couple other really consistent kids, Jade Bach, who's going to be a senior, and Mariana Lopez, who will be a senior, and Rachel Odell, who's going to be a senior. They've been really consistent coming to practice. They're really consistent working together. And I would say, they each have a different skill set. Mariana is primary ball handler, and she's unselfish. She understands the game. She understands what I want too, as for offensively is, what we want to run, when we want to run it. Jade can shoot, and she's getting better at that. We've talked a lot about transitioning what she can do in practice into a game, and because in practice she doesn't miss. Right. And so we've been doing a little more competitive type shooting in practice so that she'll get a little bit better, and things are up tempo. And then Rachel Odell's probably made the biggest jump from the end of the season to now. She only got about 8 minutes a game, during the season. And she's someone who's really difficult to guard. I think people will underestimate. She's going to either have a slower girl who's a little bit bigger on her, or a faster girl that she's much bigger than. And she's left-handed. And that causes issues, and she could shoot. And I just think she just had some confidence issues when it came to that, where she didn't know where she fit in. And I think now she knows, and now she understands what her skill set can do for us. And she's worked really hard at becoming a good outside shooter, but she's long. She's probably about 5'9", but she's got long arms. She can rebound. She's kind of elusive. She's not fast, but she's not slow. It's that middle range, and she can get up and down the floor really well. And she works extremely hard. And so those 4 have been very consistent with each other, working super hard together to have some chemistry, and really just trying to get better individually for themselves and then for the team. And then the next 2 that I would say have been the most consistent was Taya Hoke, who's a sophomore going to be a junior, right, and Kiki Saravo, who's a sophomore going to be a junior. And Kiki's a softball player, and so she does do a lot of off-season softball stuff, but she's been very consistent with us, and she splits her time between us and softball really well. I recently told her that I think for a long time she thought she was a softball player who also played basketball, but she's a softball player and a basketball player, and she's been devoting her time to both equally, and it shows. I mean, she needed some quickness to move to the varsity level, and I think she's getting there. She's super strong, really high basketball IQ, and same thing with Taya. Actually, Taya has a really high basketball IQ, and that helps her as well when she's on the floor. She's thinking 5 steps ahead.
And it's funny you mentioned Kiki Saravo. We actually just spoke with her club softball coach, Coach Ayersman, just a few minutes ago. And yeah, she's made some incredible strides. We saw her during the basketball season. She had a Kiki and Taya, of course, came up from the JV team to play at the varsity level at the second half of the season for the Marauders this basketball season. They're looking to be some name stakes up at the varsity level. For those who are unfamiliar with the team, Taylor Brock plays the post, which is why Coach Ventura said that her passing is a little bit, or teaching her to pass is a little bit awkward because she is a post player. But we're seeing that a lot more at the NBA level, WNBA, college, everywhere, where your post players have to be able to shoot and pass just because of the tempo and the change of the game. You mentioned Taya Hoke, you mentioned Kiki Saravo as 2 players we could see at the varsity level from the JV team last year. Obviously, you mentioned some of the other varsity namestakes that were there last season, Mariana Lopez, Jade Bach, Rachel Odell, to just name a couple of the names that you mentioned. But Coach, are there any incoming freshmen, any other JV players that you've seen that you're excited about getting ready for next season?
You know, we've had a huge amount of freshmen coming to summer workouts, which is really rare, and it's so awesome. They're usually really nervous about going to the summer stuff, so they wait until it's August or September, and then they start to trickle in a little bit. We've had over 20, it's been like 23 different freshmen show up, and probably consistently there's been like 15 to 17 that are there every week and working really, really hard. You know, some physically just aren't ready for that yet, so they're going to need that year on that freshman team and moving into the JV team. But there's a few girls that are physically already ready, and their skill set just has to improve a little bit. One is Alice Kinsey. She's from Dr. Daniel Bright Middle School. She's a post player. And I've been really pleased to see how she has already taken to things. She's working hard. Another is Kaya Pinion Thompson. She went to MVP, another post player. And they're both like 5'10". They're good-sized kids coming into this year. And then we have a point guard from Camp Verde, and I can't remember her last name for the life of me right now, but her first name is Marie. And physically, she's been able to handle playing against bigger, more physical girls. And you could tell that she ran an offense. She knows what it means to run an offense. We have to kind of get her in tune with what we want. But I would say those 3 have stood out. But then there's a few other girls that just work so hard, and their skill set has gotten better every practice. And it's obvious when we, as coaches, are debriefing afterwards. You can see we're all bringing up the same names with the same attributes. And so they're going to be a special little group, I think, if they could stay together. I mean, even if, you know, there's 20 plus of them right now, they're not going to be 20 plus of them when they're seniors. Right. But if half of that stays together through their senior year or a little more, they're going to be a really special group.
And you even talked about, you know, just having this big group of incoming freshmen come in. I mean, obviously last year with the pandemic, there were so many question marks about if we were going to play the winter season. And you and I had talked about just some of those number issues. Obviously, every high school was dealing with that. When the Marauders played against Barry Goldwater, which is a school out of the Phoenix area, they only had about 8 people on their team in general, and they were struggling hard with numbers. I remember talking to their head coach about how tough they were struggling with kids just wanting to come out and play sports again, kids not wanting to play under mask mandates or without a mask or whatever the case may be. But it's nice to see hopefully a change, not only just with the Marauders, but for every program in Northern Arizona and throughout the state of Arizona. Hopefully everybody will start to see a little bit more normalcy in terms of their numbers. And obviously the Marauders have had that already, which is great. You know, Coach, we talked a little bit about areas of improvement. One of the things that are going to be implemented not this season, but next season will be the shot clock, which will finally find its way to Arizona, which I was speaking with Scott Hansen, I think it was the week before show, talking to him about just the shot clock change and how weird it's been that it hasn't found its way to Arizona yet. Because me being from California, I had the shot clock in high school basketball. I ran the shot clock for the varsity team at one point. And coming here, I didn't even faze me that they didn't have a shot clock going on. And I've now covered the team for 2 years. So I don't know what that tells you about how much I pay attention. But the point being, Coach, is next season, it's going to be a completely different game with that shot clock in place. So I'm curious, are you doing anything now, changing your offense to sort of fit that? Maybe you're running a faster tuned offense. I'm not sure what it may be. You can answer that question right now. What are you doing to prepare for that?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. Number one, I'm one of the coaches that voted for it.
Okay.
I think it should have been there the whole time.
I agree. Yep.
I played with it in high school in the 90s. And so it's a crazy thing that we don't have it. And also, if we want kids to play at the next level, they have to be prepared for what that is. And there's a shot clock at the next level. So we should be doing that in preparation. I understand the younger kids not doing it, but high school definitely should be. With that said, I kind of looked at our stats at the end of the season and was looking at kind of time of possession, things like that. We don't ever get close to that 30-second mark. And so it's rare.
Just letting everyone know that's a good thing.
Right. And it's rare that we do. And the times that we do, I mean, we're getting a good shot usually, but we passed up like 4. And, maybe it's because I was hammering on them about making sure we move the basketball better. Those are the things that got us close to that 30 seconds. But for the most part, we're under 20 seconds. It's around 20 seconds or so that we're getting a shot up. And a lot of times it's way less than that. We are running. I mean, we want to play fast because even with Taylor, as a post player, she's a really athletic post player. She's not a big, slow, lumbering center. So she can get up and down the floor. And we want to play fast anyways. And if we can play fast and that moves right into an offense that kind of moves quickly, that suits us. And so we've been working on that, where we're looking for the first good shot and not necessarily the third great shot right now. We get hesitant when that happens as a group. And I think that for me as a coach is something that I've just had to learn and adjust to, is our kids get hesitant the more that we have the longer we have the ball. So if we move the ball around for 25 seconds, the kid who's taking the shot is wondering if they should be taking the shot. And so I want kids to be confident. And we talk about the whole idea of the triple threat is the first part of that is to shoot, is to score. And I actually took the shoot out and said score, right? So the first part of triple threat is score. Then it's pass, then it's dribble. So let's look to score the basketball. And so we've run a few different offenses over the summer or in the early tournament, and we will in the rest of the summer. We're looking to get the basketball up on that backboard and rim fairly quickly.
Right.
And near the rim as much as possible too. So everything going at the basket as much as we can. And with having a couple shooters on the floor to where when they do start to collapse and pack things in, we have options that we can kick the ball out and we can take a couple outside shots. But I taught them 2 new offenses that we may not use in the season, but just for that specific tournament in April, at the end of April, early May, I taught them 2 brand new offenses, and they got it like that. And they ran it in the tournament really, really well. Teams are going to key on it a little bit, so we can only use it sparingly. And it worked for several possessions. And then the other coach would call a timeout and adjust to it. But they were fast hitting because in those tournaments, they usually run the clock. And so we need to get moving and we need to score. And so that actually helps prepare us for that time, that shot clock time. And we were probably scoring within 15 seconds or getting a really good look within 15 seconds. And we're going to keep doing that too.
Right. And it seems like that transition obviously will be a little bit easier for some coaches and a little more difficult for others, just depending on the situation. Obviously, Coach Ventura just said that his offense is kind of already built for somewhat of a shot clock, or at least it's fast moving. So that shouldn't be an issue for them. So lucky for you, Coach Ventura, that your offense gets the transition nice and easy. But areas of improvement, you kind of touched upon them a little bit earlier, but I know foul trouble was an issue that the Marauders had last season. That's something that the team would like to improve on. Of course, you can say that for anybody, but sure. Is there any other specific areas, Coach, that you would like to see this team improve? And how are you guys doing that? Or how are you guys preparing to change those for next season?
Well, I want to improve everything a lot, but I thought there was times defensively that we did not play well, and then there was times we played excellent, and um, unfortunately wasn't consistent as enough, and that's my bread and butter is defense. I'm a defensive minded person, and they hear me say a million times throughout the season that if the other team doesn't score, you can't lose, and so I really want to emphasize that. And I would say that that core group of kids that I mentioned earlier, they are dedicated to being really good defensively. And even if we're in a practice and we're doing a lot of offensive skill work, at some point they ask me, are we going to do defensive stuff today? Okay. And so they are really in tune with that. So I think if we can improve our defense a little bit, I know our scoring is going to get better. It already has. And when you have a scoring threat like Taylor is, I think that that's going to open things up for everybody else. Taylor was trying to, it's too bad because Taylor didn't have a real off season like you were saying last year, her sophomore year. I think if she did, her season would have been much more efficient. Even with what it was, per 32 minutes, she was the most efficient kid on the team.
Wow.
And that was playing way less minutes than all the other starters because of foul trouble. When we were in the tournament, I gave her a goal of, I don't want you fouling out of any of these games, and you're going to be aggressive and you're going to have kids come at you. And I would say per game, she gets 2 bad calls where it's not a foul, but she's going to get the foul because she's more physical. And then she gets 3 legit fouls. And so she only fouled out of one of the games that we played, but it was 3 bad calls and 2 good calls. And every other game, one game, she didn't have any fouls. And so she's really becoming efficient with that because I wanted her to play 32 minutes. And last year she averaged about 18, 19, and that's not enough for someone who's that good. So I think if she's on the floor longer, that helps us out quite a bit as well. But I think overall confidence in each other, I think that they need to offensively. Defensively, they do. They really trust each other, and they communicate well defensively. Offensively, they really have to start to trust each other. I think right now they have a lot of trust in Taylor, that if the offense runs through her, they're going to get the basketball back. So they're not thinking it's a black hole that if the ball goes to Taylor, it's never coming back to me.
Right.
So they trust that. And I think they also trust that if the ball goes up and it's not going in, we have a really good shot of getting a rebound. Because even the smallest person on the court, if Mariana's the smallest person on the floor, she's fighting for rebounds. And if Taylor doesn't grab one because we have 3 girls boxing Taylor out, someone else needs to get the basketball.
Right.
So I think that they're starting to gain that confidence with each other. And if that continues, they're going to be really successful, and they'll be a special group of kids.
Mingus Union High School girls basketball coach Paul Ventura. Coach, thank you very much for coming onto the show to talk about the team so far this offseason.
Yeah, no problem, man. I appreciate it.
The Marauders will be participating in some summer basketball tournaments a little bit later in July and August. For updated information, go check out their Facebook page for any other information that you may need about the team. It's all there. And also check out the school website just for information in general. That is going to do it for this episode of Off the Bench. I would like to thank Coach Ventura for taking the time to come on the show. I'd also like to thank Chino Valley Cougars registration coordinator Adrianna Granillo for coming on the program, and also Verde Valley Heat Elite head coach Richard Ayersman. We will be back next week with some more great guests and wonderful interviews right here on Off the Bench. I'm Philip Katoff. I'm wishing you a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.